Hey everyone, this is Chris Kies for Premier Guitar. I'm in Dunable Guitar Shop in Los Angeles, California. We're going to see how these riff rifles are made by Sacha and his little elves. Hey everyone, this is Chris Kies for Premier Guitar. I'm at Dunable Guitars in Los Angeles. We're going to check out how Sacha and his crew of misfits put these awesome riff machines together. Hey everyone, this is Chris Kies for Premier Guitar. I'm in Los Angeles, California at the Dunable Guitars shop. I'm with all these crazy assholes, and they're going to show us how they build guitars. All right, Sacha, we are inside your guys' I guess, shop one or building one of your setup. And before we get rolling into everything, you actually started in your garage at your home or like a workspace?
That's right, yeah. I would say in, I think 2012, I moved into a house up in the San Fernando Valley, sort of the north side of LA. Basically with the intention of finding a place with a garage to start tinkering around with this. At the time I was doing a lot of like guitar tech work and just needed more space for that and thought it would be cool to start messing around with building stuff too. So yeah, we were in a 2-car garage in my backyard basically for the first 4 or 5 years of making these guitars. But yeah, obviously things have grown and now we're in like 3 of these units here. So
I thought it's cool about your history of the brand and everything is that you and Dave and Intronaut were playing the Dunable guitars that you were first building, and then that kind of spread through word of mouth based on people being attracted to the instruments and like, oh, what's that?
Right.
And then it kind of went on from there, and you probably started playing guitars for friends and other bands and stuff.
Exactly. I mean, it was kind of just, I think the timing of everything worked out accidentally, you know, and that we were touring really heavily for those, you know, bunch of years, and especially when I had started making these guitars, you know, so it just was kind of this natural, like, yeah, you know, Jeff from High on Fire and the Deaf Heaven guys and people just being like, what's that? Like, can I have one? And then, you know, those bands obviously play in front of a lot of people and, you know, the word just spread that way. And before we knew it, you know, I was just getting orders for guitars, you know, around then, so.
Well, let's get into it. Let's see how this thing's made.
Yeah. Sure.
These mean machines that you guys create here. So, you got the wood pile here.
Yeah.
What kind of woods do you work with, and why do you choose those ones?
So we keep it pretty. I guess limit is not the word, but there's just a few choices that are kind of standard for necks and bodies that we use. Okay. For guitars, you know, primarily the necks are mahogany with ebony fingerboards. Occasionally the maple neck or limba. I really like limba for both body and neck. It's really similar to mahogany just in terms of like the grain structure and the weight and the resonance and all that, but it looks awesome.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a lot more limba lately, but primarily we're using Honduran mahogany for necks, for guitar necks, maple for bass necks, just because maple is so stiff and, you know, it just really is conducive to like a strong bass neck, which is long and needs that support, you know, for the string tension and everything.
Do you use maple for the baritone stuff you do?
Well, yeah, we'll use maple for guitar necks for all the scales of guitar necks too. And then for bodies, in addition to the limba and the maple tops and the mahogany, I really like swamp ash. Here's a blank for something that's been cut out. I mean, it's just really lightweight. The swamp ash, it's like surprisingly resonant for as light as it is. So I don't know, I feel like paired with like a maple or mahogany neck, this stuff just really feels nice in a lot of, you know, in every kind of way, you know. It's not too heavy. You can really feel what you're playing, I think, you know, through the wood, and it looks great, you know, takes any kind of finish just perfectly, I think, you know. So those are really the three
what do you got here clamped up? Standard
options. Yeah, so right now, this is a swamp ash Gnarwhal blank. Yeah, so Randall's prepping body blanks over here right now. And this is going to be part of a production run of Gnarwhals that we're working on right now. After we've kind of got the primary body blank ready to go, there's also the option of adding like a drop top to the build. So we have this whole stash of our exotics and fancy woods and whatnot. Typically, our main options are usually like a flame maple top that will book match and join up and then put on the top of the guitar. Flame maple obviously is a classic, you know, favorite of people. Also a lot of burl maple.
Yeah, that stuff's gnarly.
Yeah, we get these from a place, we get them from a few places, but there's a guy in Canada who gets some really nice burl maple that we'll either buy in pre-cut blanks like this or a whole billet that we'll resaw stuff out of. That's a really cool piece. Like you throw some stain on that and it's just like, it's all over. That's a nice
cool.
guitar.
And I'm sure we'll see later in the process is like those types of woods that you're using for tops really come to life when you bring the colors on them.
Exactly, yeah. Actually, you know what, in assembly, I think they've got a buckeye top, a buckeye burl top going that looks really cool. I think it's from the same billet as this, but you know, that's really just fantastic, right? I mean, and then you got all these voids that you can do creative stuff with, like adding resins and
I was going to ask how you work around that.
Yeah,
you almost lean into
carefully.
It. Yeah.
I don't know, this stuff is just wild. Here's a nice billet that I've just been waiting for an excuse to use. Actually, Kevin from Electrical Guitar Company hit me to, I think it was this supplier and these billets, but this is an Afzalia burl, which I think is from like Southeast Asia or something like that. But it's all cool and red. And
Kevin's not supposed to be a wood guy. He's a metal guy.
yeah, well, I think, don't they use wood on like Travis beans or something?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all sick. We also keep our exotic, well, all our fingerboards here. Got the ebony and the maple.
It's this crazy one.
This is pale moon ebony. Wow. I bought a whole billet of this stuff a while back, thinking we'd need a ton of it, and it's like 2 years later, I still got this much of it left. It's a pricey piece of wood right there. This is persimmon ebony, which I think is the same tree that the fruit comes from, persimmons, you know? Delicious and beautiful. So Jake here is our engineer, and he's the one behind basically our transition over to the CNC world a couple years ago. So he's the one who draws, you know, basically all these programs, or I don't even know if I'm wording that correctly.
Programs,
but you know, basically it all starts here in the computer, and these are sort of the programs that tell those machines how to make a guitar. So
we're basically we're drawing something in digital space to the scale that needs to be, and then we're creating programs to tell the CNC how to cut it, how fast to cut it, depth of cut, just making things as clean and as easily reproduced as possible.
yeah, so this is one of our two CNC machines. This is sort of the more heavy duty one that handles body and neck milling. So after the two-piece body has dried up, Randall will take it, run it through a thickness sander to get it just nice and level one last time, drill the registration pins, and then put it on, you know, the fixture for that particular body or neck. And then the CNC will cut it out. From there, it does all the neck pocket, pickup routes, contours, sort of roughly, and then it's finished by hand in sanding.
So kind of the best of both worlds, using, you know, technology to what it's used to be and or what its strengths are, and then still having it finished with the hands.
Yeah, finished with love, you know, definitely. I mean, these guys like spent a lot of time like honing their skills on all this stuff. So it's been the same guys basically doing all this stuff since the beginning of this company too. So it's really cool. But yeah, they put their own finishing touches on it that you wouldn't get from just a machine alone, you know.
Sacha, before you upgraded to the CNC setup, how long would it take you to kind of hand carve a body?
You know, honestly, it's probably not even that much faster with the machine. It's more about just those things, those cuts being that much more accurate, which I think is really important when you're, especially with a neck pocket and we're gluing in necks, you know, you really, any like bit of human error can lead to just like nightmares on the back end while you're assembling, or even like years later if you're the owner of the guitar. You know, so I think it's more about just the accuracy than the speed. And maybe the consistency of that accuracy, and like, you know, this is one that's come just right off. The neck pocket is always going to be perfectly straight over the pickups. The pickup routes are always just the right size. You know, in here you just have, again, just consistent depths, and it just looks nice, and that's really the point, I think, more than saving time.
So you can come to work hungover and not have to worry about having an off body or too deep of a pocket.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe just worry about like not sticking your hand in where something sharp is. But so then, yeah, after the bodies or necks come off the CNC, they'll come over here to Aaron to sand. Aaron's actually been here. He's the longest running employee. He's been here since 2016.
Yeah, very long though.
Yeah. So yeah, if you own a Dunable guitar, there's almost 100% chance that Aaron at least sanded the body, if not also joined up the top, glued it to the body, probably did everything else to it. Maybe even hand routed it back in the day. He was
Back in the day, a lot of them.
before the CNC. He was the CNC. So yeah. So here you're sanding a Yeti with a flame top, like we were just talking
Sure.
about. It's pretty.
With the no pit guard, so it's got the back cavity.
And he's done so many of these at this point. He's got just skills that,
And the muscle
We
memory
would-
of this.
yeah, because it's really hard to keep that like consistent and smooth and just pretty looking, without getting
I
dips
tried.
and stuff. Yeah.
I tried.
Well, these necks are also made on the CNC, again, for consistency's sake. Jake, again, came up with a great drawing for all the different scale lengths that we do. That's the other thing. We do 25.5 is sort of the standard guitar scale, but we do shorter, like 24 3/4.
Oh, really?
Kind of by request more than anything. We do a 27.5 baritone neck. We also do a 30 3/4, which can be a short scale bass or like a really long scale guitar, like a bass 6 kind of thing, or whatever your heart desires, really, I guess. And then for basses, it's either 34 or 35. And we do have a lot of our necks actually are produced by Grover Jackson at his shop. He's been doing our 25.5 scale necks for more of the production run stuff since basically before there was an us or a we. It was just like since like 2014. And he was just down the road for a long time in California here, but he's in Tennessee now. But these are the necks we get from him. And obviously that's a great help. I mean, obviously having, one of the
guys.
right? He's like Mount Rushmore of like electric guitar manufacturing, right? That's been really great. But again, he's into like larger scale production. So anytime we want something outside of just this standard neck, we'll make it here.
And do they come with the frets?
Yeah,
binded, everything.
That's how
they show
come,
up.
yeah.
Okay.
But it's like those 5 wood configurations, you know what I mean? So here we'll do like the baritone. This is a baritone neck. This is limba. And so this is almost pretty much fresh off the CNC, and it's already kind of mostly done. You can kind of see some tool marks, and there's a little step here. And the guys have already sanded out the headstock. But yeah, basically like this is rough off the machine. It's got some locator pin holes for the fingerboard, which match up to that there. And so this also being made on this smaller CNC here. I'll then bind it, side dots, put some pins in, put a truss rod in. They get clamped up. We actually just had these really cool cauls made. Basically, it's like a machined aluminum caul that's got a radius that matches the fingerboard here. And then these kind of screw together. Because even with these locator pins, clamping up a neck with just like clamps and a radius block and a caul in the back, I found that we still get like a little bit of like swimming, the fingerboard would kind of shift. And this way it just like really locks everything in, and you pull it out of there and it's like flat already. And so then there's very little work that has to be done in terms of like hand, sanding the fingerboard to get it smooth and, get those tool marks out of there too. And then after, you know, that gets smoothed out, then we'll install frets. And then it gets glued into a body and then off to paint.
Now, do you guys offer all sorts of fret sizes, I imagine? Or what do you typically use?
We typically use just nickel, jumbo or extra jumbo. You know, I like a big fret, and I like nickel frets. You know, stainless are cool, but I don't know. It just never. It's just not what I'm into. You know, I just like a traditional nickel fret. You know, and we get them from a company called Headstock, who's like one of the biggest, you know, fret wire manufacturers, and they cut them to our specific size and everything. So it's just a really easy process, you know, for us.
Well, right on.
Yeah.
All right, the neck has met the body, Sacha. So what's going on in this room?
So this is the paint prep room. Like you said, our necks will get glued to the body, usually on a Friday, and then Monday morning we'll start in here. And Mitch here does almost all the paint prep, a lot of the spraying of clear coats, some color. He'll take it and basically clean any excess glue on here around the neck joint that's spilled out. Maybe check the rest of the guitar for any scratches. Or just minor blemishes that we might need to steam out before staining or sealing it for a solid color. Like this guitar in particular, I believe is getting a stain. So I think it's ready now for that. And he's gone over and kind of just made sure that any scratches that you'll see through that transparent color are all gone. And so then from here, I'll usually hand stain the color on there with a water-based stain. Let that dry, maybe sand it back, do another coat of color, and then we'll seal it. We use this kind of gel wood sealer. It's like what people use on butcher blocks.
Oh, right.
Rather than using a polyester thick coat of essentially plastic, we'll just use a real thin sealer, so then we can spray color and clear coat over that. And basically you end up with a nice thin finish, so you can really still feel the wood grain for the most part. And I mean, best of all, I think just feeling the wood resonate and not being restricted by a thick, again, plastic coating, you know.
And is there anything here that you maybe want to pull out? I saw some sparkles that caught my eye.
Yeah,
just to
sure.
give a kind of sample of what you guys do.
I guess we have kind of both ends of the spectrum here as far as what we can do. This is like a rainbow sparkle finish.
Wow.
That, yeah, it's pretty wild. It's just a black, obviously, and then some rainbow sparkles over it. This, obviously, you got to leave pretty thick, you know, just because there's so much texture that goes on, that you got to level it out. And then it has a nitro lacquer finish on top of all that. So that's probably one of the more wild finishes that we'll do. This is a new color that I was messing around with.
Yeah, I saw you send out a newsletter a couple of weeks ago that you were testing out some new colors.
I thought I was being really clever coming up with a rose gold color. I mean, I should have known that the people had already done this, but
yeah,
I'm still really happy with that. I think that looks really cool. And that's over the swamp ash, you know, so you can really see that grain through there. I really like that look. And it's really light too, even though it has no hardware, if you want to feel that.
Oh, yeah.
These swamp ash body blanks are you know, maybe 3-4 pounds total. So it makes for a nice light guitar.
What's your favorite part of the process? You know, not that you probably pick and choose what you do and when you do it based on your availability and all the other things you got going with the company, but what do you really get excited about doing still as a builder?
Well, I like designing new stuff. I mean, honestly, we haven't had a lot of time to do it in the last couple of years, but coming up with new body shapes or new scale lengths, you know, to kind of apply to all our different models is always fun. We have a new model that we've been working on for almost a year now, and just trying to find the time to do that has been tough. So I like that. I mean, I also really do enjoy the finishing process. You know, there's just something really gratifying about taking, you know, a raw guitar like that, and then it's either a sparkly,
it's either a piece of furniture or a bass boat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, straight out of Florida, right?
Yeah.
This is a pretty wild piece. It's a 9-string, which I guess we did just start doing recently. That was fun, but it's on a Yeti, and it's all roasted flame maple, and that's a nitro finish. This is going to go to Chicago Music Exchange, I believe.
What's the idea with the 9-string? I know that like Matt Pike had played it, and I know Brent earlier in Mastodon's catalog did it. Is it like you're doubling the lower octave strings of like a double neck? Or I'm sorry, a 12-string?
Well, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. Yeah, I mean, the most common way that I've seen it with those guys and the ways it's been requested from us is doubling these the treble strings, so that it's like a 12-string guitar. I have one over there. It's one of my guitars where I have this string doubled, what would be your D string, and then these two. So you still have like these single strings to do like octave stuff with, or like riffs, single note riffing. But then you got like this to do like open drones with, and the high strings to get a little chorus effect on. I don't know. Is it, necessary? No, but it's fun.
But when your name's on the headstock, you can do anything you want.
Exactly, and just try to. Variety is the spice of life, you know what I mean? So just keep things interesting as much as possible here.
Well, let's see how these guitars, raw wood, as beautiful they are, they have a heartbeat, and they are your pickups. So let's see how that gets done.
Yeah, sure. We're here in the assembly shop. We're in the little parts and pickup corral here with Derek, who makes all our pickups. How long, you've been making these pickups since what, 2016, 2017?
About 2016, maybe 2015 or 14, there was a dozen per year until 2016 or so it really picked up.
Yeah. So right now you're getting the pickups prepped for assembly for this week, for this batch out there. And basically, Derek will come in, you wind all the pickups at home, and then...
I'll do the winding at home. I come in the morning, and I'll go through the assembly sheets to see what's being done that week, what's being built that week. And then at that point, I'll pull all the pickups and start waxing them and prepping the covers and all that. Typically, our pickups are all double wax potted. I pot them once, then I cover them, and then I pot them again, unless requested otherwise.
And that's to reduce the chance of microphonic feedback coming from inside the pickup with air between all the magnetic and metal components in there. And this week we're working on a production run of Cyclops and Yetis, so there's a lot of our new Cave Bear pickups being put together in aged nickel covers, it looks like. These are for custom orders or for stores, I think. This is like a nickel and flame maple cover. It's one of the fancy options you can choose, both on just your pickups a la carte order or in your guitar. And then all the Cave Bears are over here and over there, I guess. But yeah, we got about, 10 guitar humbucker and
We have
single coil
about
models?
10 standard models now, along with the bass pickups.
And yeah, this is where it happens.
All right, Sacha, we're kind of to the end, the finish line of the process here at Dunable. So talk to me about what we see in this room and what's going on.
So here we're in the assembly shop, and basically guitars, when they're done with paint, come in here every Monday. And these gentlemen behind us get to work and put them all together, basically. Everything from fretwork, from Eric over there, and then Anthony and Chris kind of will pull all the hardware, get it installed, wire up pick guards, put strings on the guitar, and usually by Friday night we got our weekly batch done.
And on a weekly, I'm sure different times of the year, different reasons, but what on a weekly average, what do you guys put out?
The goal has been about 12 guitars a week recently. So yeah, I don't know, I guess monthly it's in around 50 guitars, I guess, when you take into account all 30 days of the month.
And the one thing that you brought up to Perry, or I think Perry asked you off camera, was about setups, that you guys will do setups and like kind of customize the nut based on a player's needs if they request it.
Yeah. So like if you custom order a guitar directly through us, you can request your string gauge and tuning setup. Even though the guitar will travel and maybe not quite hold the setup, at least like the nut and the strings are like on there for what you're going to use it for, I guess, which is obviously helpful. And why not, I guess, if we're making the guitar and sending it to the ultimate end user, then it's not that much trouble to just cut the nut for their string gauge.
It's the little steps, it's the little things that matter.
Yeah.
Now, where does the DE equation fit into this?
So our DE guitars are made over in South Korea, and we set them all up here. Same guys, you know, we'll basically get like pallets of, you know, like 300 guitars. Just kind of go through them and just verify them basically, and just make sure that they're all good to go and free of any blemishes, and that everything works and that they play well, you know, coming out of the box, and then they get shipped out to stores and people and all that. Yeah.
And then those guitars still come with like the Dunable pickups, right?
They come with a proprietary set that is made over there in that factory.
Okay. To your specs, obviously.
To our specs, yeah. They were kind of like loosely based off the Grizzly pickup. They kind of do the things their own way, so we did kind of call it something else. They're the Cthulhu pickups, but yeah, they're essentially built to our specs, and they rip, and the guitars are a great value, honestly. You know, for the money, you know, I don't think there's really a better option, you know.
Well, I had a lot.
If you're looking for a Dunable, that is, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, this video is evidence of what you guys put into each instrument that leaves this place. So it's cool that you were opened the doors to us, came here, showed us everything that was makes a Dunable, makes a Dunable roar.
Yeah.
And I think I heard it, and this is how I'll leave it, is that like you guys are riff maniacs making riff machines. Something along that line that I heard you say in an interview.
That's 100% factual right there, yeah. Yeah.
Well, order yourself a riff machine from Dunable. Sacha right here. See you guys later.